Hi, I'm Nick.
And I'm Miki.
And this is Puzzles, a How I Met Your Mother Re-Rewatch.
Each week, we'll be breaking down episodes of How I Met Your Mother, mostly spoiler-free, celebrating the show,
Critiquing it,
asking what aged well,
and what aged poorly.
Why is it called Puzzles, Nick?
That's the puzzle. This is episode 11, Under Pressure. Hey, Miki. How's it going?
I'm good. I had a good weekend. Everything's good here. How about you?
Not too bad, although we got some wildfire smoke in Boston today. There apparently is a ton of wildfires up in Canada, and it's just all coming this way.
Oh, I was going to say, where are you? California?
Oh, well, it's guys feeling a little bit like that. But yeah, the whole summer has been like various levels of wildfire smoke that we've got to deal with.
Huh.
Not particularly pleasant.
Yeah, that does not sound pleasant at all.
But at least the weather this weekend was nice outside. So when you were outside, even though you're breathing in smoke, at least it was, pleasant.
What shows have you been watching this week?
So I finished the Hunger Games series of books. So, well, except for the most recent one, only because I would rather get the paperback, both because it's smaller and would fit in with the other ones I already have, and it's not going to be available for like at least another 6 months, I don't think. So, yeah, I'm saving that one.
So it's not even a price thing. It's just you wanted to match the other books.
Yeah, I would buy it now at a higher price if it meant getting the paperback.
Okay.
Yeah, the economics of book publishing is defeating me at the moment. But speaking of that will come up later today in one of the episodes.
But
Yep.
that comes up this early in the show. But
Oh, well, not explicitly, but it shows up. Otherwise, I have been watching Foundation. I actually just went back to watch from the beginning because I think I appreciate them more than I did before, and they're also extremely pretty shows, taking advantage of like the high def color and everything. So they're just a pleasant experience. Otherwise, I'm kind of in a show drought, I guess. Yeah, I tried actually rewatching The Guild. Do you remember that, Miki?
I do. I loved The Guild.
So here's the thing. I rewatched the first couple seasons and it did not age well at all.
Really?
Yeah. So a nerdy kid who is obsessed with the main character
Yeah.
is much creepier than I remember him being. Even though I remember that he was doing creepy things, I thought it was more toned down than it was. They used the R word a couple times.
Ooh.
And they kind of just do problematic things as jokes. Remembering this came out 18 years ago. So yeah, a lot changed culturally in 18 years, I think.
I thought the show was like 10 years old.
No, 18.
Oh my gosh. So listeners, for those of you who, The Guild's kind of niche, so I think it's reasonable to assume some people haven't heard of this. It was a web-based series, wasn't it?
Yeah, I mean, I'm pretty sure it came out during one of the writer strikes. Like a bunch of the actors really wanted to do something, and so Felicia Day, who one thing she did was she was in Buffy, or last season of Buffy.
Yeah, we like her, don't we?
Yeah, she's great. It was a web release series based on a bunch of nerds who were playing a World of Warcraft type game. So all like really obsessed with it and very introverted and sheltered, and they decided to meet up in real life for the first time, and kind of things progress from there. Very low stakes stuff. And also very short episodes, so it's a very quick watch. Like the full first season was only 45 minutes long total. Yeah, they were all very, very, very quick. And the later seasons were a bit longer, but they actually, so I didn't realize, I don't know how I missed this, but apparently they did a 5th and 6th season just a couple of years ago. So I mean, a late pandemic era. So I am kind of curious, like what they ended up doing in the more modern take on it.
Yeah, I'm definitely going to watch that.
What have you been watching?
You're going to make fun of me. Yeah, so a few days ago, my husband and I accidentally started watching Kitchen Nightmares with Gordon Ramsay.
Okay.
Basically, so have you seen this? I mean, you know Gordon Ramsay.
I'm vaguely aware of like memes around it.
I'm sure there are. Well, it's off the air now, but this is a show where It's a very formulaic reality show where Gordon Ramsay, this British, kind of snarky British chef, he bursts into people's failing restaurants and basically tells
Mm.
them everything that they're doing wrong and gives the restaurant and the owners and the food a revamp, a makeover. But we started watching it by accident because you know how sometimes like the TV, I don't know why, but like before we get to like the streaming part of TV, it's just automatically set on, like, a channel, like, it defaults to a channel. Like, for a while, it kept playing, like, Divorce Court, and we have no idea why. In this case, for whatever reason, we turned it on, and it popped up at the beginning of this episode of Gordon Ramsay's show, and, it took place at this, restaurant in the North End, which, listeners, is, the Italian,
Yeah.
section of Boston. So I was like, "Oh, hey, cool, Boston." Then we watched, like, a couple minutes of it, and then I just got particularly me, I got sucked into it.
Hmm.
It's just deliciously bad reality TV, so much drama, I love it to pieces.
All right. Well, to each their own. Yeah, I can't. Yeah, I can't really get into the reality TV stuff. I think like I never even watched like Survivor or any or American Idol. Yeah, I just never. It can understand like how it's kind of engineered. Oh, just like glorified game shows, and never was into those either.
I don't watch a lot of reality TV either, so I was kinda surprised how much I enjoyed it. I think maybe I just needed something a little mindless and fun in
Hmm.
my life just to zone out at the end of the day.
Definitely some of that with everything going on.
Yes, goodness. Well, shall we turn to our episodes here?
Yeah. So what are we covering today?
Okay, so I'm going to be handling episode 20, Best Prom Ever, and you're going to be covering episode 21, Milk, which these paired really well together because a lot of it's just centered around Lily and this conflict that might be gradually bubbling up to the surface.
Yeah. Two other things I wanted to mention before we really dive in.
Oh yeah.
So one thing that we forgot, and actually just because we did not do, I mean, any research other than look at IMDb. So Taran Killam is who was on the last Life Among the Grills episode is Kobe Smulders' husband.
Oh yeah. Nick texted me a few days ago about that. That blew my mind.
Yeah, so we had a whole stretch, and we're going to hear about someone else's significant other on today's episodes.
Yeah, I'm very excited about that one in my episode. What was the other thing you wanted to say?
I went to see Vanessa Carlton perform in Boston.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, she was great. I mean, she hasn't performed publicly in a while, and she was like kind of self-admittedly like rusty about some things. But once she got past that, she was great. Like she played the old hits, and there were some new songs. Said she has a new album coming out. So yeah, it was just my high school me was be very excited that I got to see her.
I have to admit, I think I would sometimes get her confused with Michelle Branch, so I'm not sure which songs are hers and which songs are Michelle Branch's.
I think most of the ones that you remember are Vince Carlton's. There's like I think there are fewer that I really remember Michelle Branch doing. But yeah, they were both kind of paired together in that pop era.
What's like Vanessa Carlton's most popular hit? What do you say?
Oh, there's White Houses, 1,000 Miles, and there was one more. I'm forgetting the name of it right now.
Interestingly, I think I've only heard an a cappella cover of White Houses. It's really well done.
Hmm.
I'll have to go back and listen to the actual like Vanessa Carlton original version. Well, actually, I did do not a great amount of research, but I do have a little information to share about a song in this episode.
All right, well, why don't we dive into your episode, Mickey?
Yeah, and I know you mentioned during the week that you didn't actually enjoy this one very much, so I'm really curious
Mm-mm.
to hear why. I'm sure you'll let me know. I'll say I actually ended up liking it better than I thought. I remember this being kind of like whatever, and then I don't know, I didn't love it, but I liked it. Well, episode 20, Best Prom Ever, the air date was May 1st of 2006. First of all, big guest star, Scooter is played by David Burtka, which he is NPH's real-life husband.
Oh
I
yeah, yeah.
thought he'd actually been in more than he's actually been. Really, the things that stood out in his IMDb profile were a couple things that Neil Patrick Harris also has been in, like Harold and Kumar,
Mm.
a series of unfortunate events, which I didn't watch a ton of, but I know he was in that. I had it in my head that like David Burtka was a big Broadway star. And, I don't think that's the case. I think he's done some theater work, but I don't know, maybe I was just confusing him with somebody else.
Yeah, I don't think I heard that. Oh,
But I love him as Scooter, and he's going to be a recurring character.
yeah, he's great.
So the, other 2 guest stars that I looked into here, so I really enjoyed the 2 nerds at the prom, played by John Reha and Brent Tarnall, guess how IMDb, lists, like, what their characters are on IMDb?
I saw it, so I can't actually guess.
This is why I never look at your notes because I don't wanna spoil stuff for myself. Schlub number 1 and schlub number 2. But I did notice one of the schlubs does get a name at some point in the episode, so I was yeah, Andrew, the not there's, like, the one with the glasses and the one who's a little bit heavier set. The second one is
Huh.
Andrew.
Yeah, it's interesting actually in my episode, there's someone who has a name in the episode, but is only credited as the, like, their job title in the
Yeah,
credits.
so maybe this is a recurring thing on IMDb. Well,
No,
anyway,
I think that's probably what the credits actually said.
so is that the rule with IMDb? It's based on the credits? That's, like, the official.
Yeah, I think they try to be accurate to
Hmm.
that.
Well, the schlubs really haven't been in very much. Actually, one of them didn't even have a picture in his profile,
Yeah.
so there's not much to say about them. I just thought the names of them were kind of funny.
Yeah.
My episode description: the gang crashes a high school prom so Lily can audition a wedding band. But we soon learn that Lily might be worried about more than just planning a wedding.
Oh, wait, just another thing about the guest stars. I don't think you mentioned Todd? Like, Valerie and Todd?
Yeah, I didn't look into them. Have you seen Todd
So,
Smith,
well, Todd is he's the editor on the official Rewatch podcast.
the editor of the podcast itself?
Yeah.
Oh, no way. I'm glad you're listening to this. When we're done with this business, I'm going to go back and I'm going to listen to the official podcast myself. I only listened to the first episode and was like, I just don't want to be influenced by it. But it's hard for me not to. It sounds really good.
Oh, yeah, I actually didn't say his name. Alec Lev is his name.
Alec Love?
Alec Lev, yeah.
What?
L-E-V.
Oh, so it's not like LOV?
No, it's not.
Oh, I heard love. Okay. Alec Lev. I was
Yes.
like, why are you saying love weird?
I think I'm saying Lev like it's supposed to be said.
Well, I've never heard that name either, but it's definitely no weirder than Fingerhut. Well, all right, moving on. The episode begins with Lily and Marshall running frantically through the streets of New York with this intense drumming music playing in the background. Before we move on, I just have to comment with Lily's outfit here. I actually think she looks so cute. She's wearing like a striped shirt, boots, and like this floral cardigan. And I love it, but none of it matches.
Matches in, like, a fashion sense I don't have way?
Yes. Like, I actually think it's very, very cute. It's just that I wouldn't put a floral cardigan over, a gray and black striped shirt, but whatever, I don't know, I just kept looking at her outfit the whole episode. Well, and, until she changed it.
Yeah, and I mean, I don't know, Lily's clothes doesn't it seem like they're getting, like, a little bit, like, fancy for what she can probably afford?
I wonder if there's some foreshadowing there.
I don't know.
Well, Lily and Marshall, they're racing through the streets, and so the scene pauses and future Ted catches us up. So, Marshall and Lily, they're in, the middle of the wedding planning process, and Marshall and Lily, they get some game-changing news. So, swish cut to Marshall's in the apartment, he's calling Lily, at school, and he's so stoked. Apparently, Van Smoot Mansion has opened up. This is a wedding venue. I guess they've been on the wait list. We get a little, it looks like kind of like a brochure type photo of this hoity-toity mansion. Future Ted is explaining how exclusive this is, and apparently there was a cancellation. And Marshall informs Lily that Van Smoot is going to be available in 2 months. Lily's obviously excited, but she dives straight into panic mode. She actually vomits in her mouth. And, well, I mean, I guess understandably, because now they
Sure, yeah.
basically they pull the trigger on this. They have 2 months to plan a wedding. I guess before they had, like, 8 months or something like this. But Marshall points out, "Look, if we don't take this, Todd and Valerie are gonna get it." And apparently, when you're planning a wedding, there's always a Todd and Valerie. There's always this other couple who has similar tastes as you, and you're just competing over, like, the same things, in this case, a wedding venue. And now we get a similar shot of Todd and Valerie racing through the streets. So presumably they're on their way to try to snag, Van Smoot as well.
By the way, in these street scenes, I just always find it funny to note, like, how they try to make it look like a full real place, but then, like, weirdly, you block off the ability to actually see down the street. So, like, there's that, like, weird, like, right corner set that they always use, and then, like, in another shot, they have, like, a bus that's, like, sitting, like, right next to a building in an intersection, like, stuck there. Yeah,
Yeah, I
no,
thought it paused on the bus. I completely go with it. I'm not detail oriented enough to be bothered by this. I'm like, "Yep, okay, that's New York, moving on."
I think just, like, especially binge watching them, it is like, so, oh, that's the same thing over and over.
Well, I think my issue too is with these, I actually legitimately pay attention, but often when I'm rewatching things, I just got it on in the background. I'm not actually watching. I'm more like binge
Sure.
listening or re-listening to the show. So, like, I have the dialogue memorized forever, but I couldn't tell you, like, what the person was wearing or if there's, like, a background joke because I'm not watching. Well, Lily's obviously a little hesitant because they would have to really rev things up with this timeline. Marshall just shouts, "Van Smoot!" So Lily goes, "Ah, kids color," and she just completely abandons the kindergarten age children. I I don't even know if she asks for, like, a substitute teacher to come in. She's just out the door.
Yeah.
It's pretty funny. Marshall races out of the apartment. They meet up. They're running down the street. And Marshall, at one point, he's just like fireman carrying, or no, I guess he's more like piggyback. Like Lily hops onto his back and he's like piggyback carrying her through the streets. Maybe because of these cute boots she's wearing. And so they're racing through the streets. They run into Valerie and Todd, and they all scream at each other, and so they're racing down the street, pushing and shoving to get into the building. Todd, like, grabs Lily's wrist at one point and tries to, like, pull her down, like, away from the door. All very dramatic, and fast-paced, and then the pacing, it suddenly halts to stop as they get into the elevator together, and then they're all looking pretty salty with one another standing there. But Marshall and Lily, they are absolutely on the same page. Marshall just kinda shouts, "Stairs!" And then Lily, she bangs all the buttons in the elevator for every floor like a toddler would do, and off they run up the stairs, and they got it. They got Van Smoot. As we learn in the next scene at McLaren's, they're telling the rest of the gang that they got it. So how are they going to plan this wedding in 2 months? And Lily's like, "Look, we division of labor. I've got jobs for everybody." And Lily initially asks Ted and Robin to go to the floors together, but then she kind of stops herself awkwardly, and we get a flashback of a little catch up of the incident between Ted and Robin when Ted lied to Robin a few episodes ago about still being in a relationship with Victoria, and you know getting ready to hook up with Robin in her apartment. Last episode we saw, I guess that would have been Mary the paralegal, right? They still were not in a good place. They've not come back
Sure.
from that. So Lily rethinks this, asks and says, "Okay, Ted, I could actually use your keen architectural eye on the invitations." And Barney just decides to point out how awkward this whole situation is. And he's giggling and he's like, "Ha, it's so awkward." And then Barney wants to know what his job is. And Lily says that Barney's job is not to sleep with anyone even remotely related to her, which Barney apparently cannot promise. That's a big ask for Barney.
The bars on the floor for him.
Yeah, I mean, I wouldn't give him any other assignments either if that was all he had to focus on, was not hooking up with any of my family members. Next scene is the apartment. Lily is passed out on the coffee table amidst flowers and cake, and it looks like there's some kind of materials strewn over the couch. I don't know if they're supposed to be like samples for materials for bridesmaids' dresses. I'm wondering how much wedding planning they've actually done up until this point. I don't know if we know that. I guess Lily's tried on wedding dresses at this point.
I guess I would say maybe they had, like, ideas, but they hadn't, like, narrowed anything down.
Yeah,
So, I was just wondering, can you just, like, order a wedding cake sampler?
great question.
'Cause that looked delicious,
Um,
that, thing on her, on the coffee table.
yeah. Oh god, I miss seeing Victoria's cupcakes, don't you? I don't know. As you know, we had a COVID wedding, so we ended up doing just little cupcakes, and it was really fun. We went to a couple little, like one time my mom and Ukrish and I, we just went to like a little local like cupcake business, and we just had little mini cupcakes as like a sampler. But I don't know if maybe like I asked for a sample and brought it home or something, they would have let me. I don't know. I feel like I didn't plan a very traditional wedding, so I can't relate to a lot of this. So Lily's passed out. The door opens and Ted and Marshall come in, and Marshall is just so he finds Lily so endearing here, and he goes to sweetly wake her up, and Lily just jolts awake and starts screaming about a wedding band and how they haven't booked one yet. Marshall just starts and ends up dropping one of the boxes. I'm not sure what he was carrying, but it was really good physical comedy, actually. So Lily's jumped right back into panic mode. But Marshall says, "Hey, baby, relax. I called the 88. Apparently, this is a band that played at a law school party." And Ted also says that the same band played at his cousin Bonzo's wedding. I
Lonzo?
Bonzo. Yeah, Bonzo. I don't know.
Actually, the 88, they also did, like, the community theme song.
It's a real band?
Yeah, it's a real band.
Shut the front door. I didn't even bother to look into the 88 because I just assumed it was a fictional band. Wait, so they did a theme song of Community?
Yeah.
That's a really good song.
Yeah, it's great.
That's probably one of my favorite, opening songs for, like, a TV show. I had that in my iTunes playlist and downloaded it back in the day. Well, this makes a lot more sense then because Lily tells Marshall that she's not going to sign off on a wedding band that she hasn't seen play. They've got to audition. And Marshall says that they're the Wiggles of wedding bands and that they don't audition. So now I get why Marshall says this. Marshall says the band is only going to hold the date until Monday. Lily's like, I am sorry, I have to say no. I can't sign off on a band unless I see them play. So Marshall, clearly frustrated, goes and checks their website. I gotta pause and ask now. So was that actually the band at the prom later in the episode?
I think it probably was.
Were they as big back then?
I think they were, like, big enough in, like, the circles that the creators were
Hmm.
in. Yeah, lead vocalist is credited in the episode.
The one
Uh,
who's wasted, but really, I think he been stoned.
yeah, Slettall? Do not know how to pronounce it. It's
Oh.
Sletteddahl.
Well, I'm so glad you told me that. Okay, well, I wish Lily appreciated this because we could have saved ourselves some time this episode, and then you wouldn't have had to watch this episode you didn't like. You know who the Wiggles are, right?
Yeah, their reputation precedes them.
I was gonna say, I feel like the Wiggles are one of those kids, like children's musical groups that like even people without kids have heard of the Wiggles.
I'm pretty sure there's even been, like, a parody of them in some show.
30 Rock, the Woggles.
Oh, yeah, yeah,
Yeah, I went back and rewatched it one day because I was wondering, was it actually the Wiggles? And then I was like, okay, it's not even the same. It's clearly meant to be the Wiggles, but anyway, so while Marshall is checking the band's website, Ted asks Lily, "Don't you think you're being like a little bit intense about all this?" And Lily says, "Look, I've got a wedding to plan in 9 weeks for 200 people. If a dinosaur should poke its head out of my butt and consume this coffee table, I need you to roll with it." There's some lines in this show that are really great, and I just have to like put them in verbatim to my notes 'cause they're so funny. This is why you shouldn't have big weddings and you shouldn't have expensive weddings at hoity-toity mansions. Just, you're gonna hear this rant so many times
Yeah,
from
so what do you think their budget for this wedding is? Because they've really
Oh,
had to be careful
imagine.
about skimping on, like, the dress, and they talk about how broke they are. I guess they're probably getting help from their parents, so we don't
Well, and
really know.
the internship too.
True, yeah, there's that.
I
Hmm.
mean, guys, it's a party. Invite 50 people tops, do it in your backyard, get a sheet cake, calm down.
Well, they don't have a backyard.
That's fair because it's in New York, so probably the most space they're gonna get to hold more than 50 people is a mansion out in, upstate New York or wherever I don't know if we know where it is. Barney enters and says that he tasted an amazing caterer. I guess they already have a caterer, and then Barney's like, "Oh, yeah, you're getting married, ha, ha, ha." So, great, Barney. Good for you. Marshall comes back and says that he looked on the site, and the 88 is playing a prom in New Jersey. So they decide to call the school. They are just kind of assuming that, oh yeah, that's like high school will definitely let a bunch of adults in to watch this band. But flash forward, unsurprising, that's not the case. They did call the high school. They're not allowed in.
I also don't think a band would typically put, like, a private engagement on as an event it's doing, but
Oh,
yeah.
yeah, maybe that's a good point. Maybe they just say booked. I don't know why they're bragging about this prom, but they decide to sneak into the high school prom. So now we've got our setup for the episode here. Lily is like, "Look, at this point, I'm going to say yes to just about anything." And Barney says, "Well," and Lily, "No, no, just shut
Um,
that nonsense down." So after a commercial break at McLaren's, ramen She is on board with this. She decides that she wants to crash the prom with Lily because apparently she didn't get to go to her prom because of field hockey nationals. Thus starts the beginning of a series of jokes about Robin being a lesbian.
This aged poorly.
I mean, it feels like it's borderline because it's, like, not exactly negative, but it's stereotyping, so
Yeah,
it's yeah,
I'll say it doesn't offend me as much as other jokes in this show. But I'm neither a lesbian nor a field hockey player. So
that's true.
anyone from that demographic wants to write in, please do so. Lily wonders if they look old enough to sneak into a prom, and Barney certainly thinks so. I guess he thinks he's ageless. Lily's got statutory written all over her. So yeah, I guess Barney wants to go crash this prom too. I don't think it's ever clear why he wants to. I think he's just always up for shenanigans.
Let's
Um,
hope it's that and
Honestly, Barney, this could have been a darker episode. I guess in theory they're 18, but still gross. Ted suggests that they all go and crash this prom together, but Robin clearly comes up with an excuse because she does not want Ted to be there. So Ted pivots and suggests, okay, well, Marshall and I, we can have guys' night out. And now Barney feels a little excluded. He's going to go to the prom, but he's like, all right, well, I'll meet up with you guys afterward. Give me a call. He doesn't want to be left out. At the apartment, Barney is waiting on the couch, and Lily and Robin come in and model their dresses. Barney says they're horrible because they're not slutty enough. This is not the problem with these dresses. I'm going to speak on behalf of all girls who wear dresses. Robin's is fine. Robin's is whatever. It's like a plum kind of longer dress. I mean, it's I guess more of like ankle length. There's nothing offensive about this dress, but there's nothing that stands out either. What is Lily wearing? It looks like I feel like I gotta start from the top and work my way down to explain this dress, if that's
oh,
what we
yeah.
can call it. Like, what did you think of these dresses, actually, as from a
Uh, I mean, it seemed, like, fine. I didn't have a real negative or positive opinion about them either way, I guess.
Lily's dress looked like a
I mean, it did feel like prom dresses, though, like
prom dresses, well, Barney has his own opinions about what they should look like. I feel like they just need to be long and sparkly, and that's the end of it. So Lily, it's like it reminded me of Princess Jasmine for some reason. Almost like in Crazy Ex-Girlfriend at the end of season 1, that dress that Rebecca wore to that wedding, it's got, like, Princess Jasmine vibes, but then it's like, okay, here's Lily's dress. Here's the perfect way to describe it. There's 3 things going on with this dress. It's Princess Jasmine. It's that
mm,
dress that blew up the internet about 10, 15 years ago where no one could figure out what color it was because it's got some weird gold patterns that kind of remind me of it.
I guess, yeah.
And then you get down to the point where we're at her knee and below, and it looks like it's kind of turned into roughly disco pants. So at this point, I'm not clear on is this a dress?
Disco pants?
Like they're really like it's like, 70s and they're just frilly and they've got a bunch of layers happening and it looks
Okay.
like something someone would have worn to a disco in the 70s.
Alright.
Yeah, I had a lot of feelings about this dress, but luckily we don't see it very long. Barney says they look too classy and says that girls, at this age, they essentially have to just slut it up at proms. So he says, "Go ho or go home." Lily, at this point, she's still spiraling it out about the wedding. Oh my god, if I can't dress slutty enough, then I'm not going to find a band and blah blah blah. And Robin says, "Okay, look, calm down. Right now, you just have to dress like a whore, and that's it." So Barney tells them, slut up. Back in Lily's room, they're sorting through their dresses. Looks like Robin might have brought some of her dress options over to Lily's place.
Yeah, I was wondering about that. She's, like, browse her dresses and
That's possible. That's definitely possible. I mean, I don't know how many she brought. It looked kind of like a lot. But Lily, she's rummaging around in her closet and she finds her actual prom dress. It's this black and pink fringe. It's this black number with like pink fringe on it. I like it better than the weird Princess Jasmine dress.
yeah, I guess
Um,
it's relative, but yeah.
so then we get this delightful flashback to 1996. Based on the decor, it looks like the theme might have been like under this enchantment under the sea.
I mean, I bet it was probably a reference to that from Back to the
Yeah,
Future.
there's like a well, I don't know if it was a Back to the Future reference because that's kind of like a. I mean, obviously, Enchantment Under the Sea was their prom theme in Back to the Future, but I think
I
this
would
was also
be
rope.
well, I would just be shocked if anyone in entertainment who was doing a prom scene didn't have a very strong association with Under the Sea and Back to the Future. Like, it must be a connection there.
I mean, this is one of my favorite movies, so I appreciated it, but I assume that people aren't as nerdy as me. But you're right, TV writers, it's at least a nod. You're probably right. Here is where we get Scooter for the first time. I cannot get enough of Scooter in this show. I mean, maybe we'll see, as we go along. Maybe he didn't age as well as I remember, but I adore him in this episode. He's down south. We have a saying, "Bless your heart." So it's just everything that comes out of his mouth is, "Oh, honey, bless your heart." Lily's dancing with Scooter. He is wearing a white tux and one of those like t-shirts that are meant to look like a tuxedo. I actually thought that was adorable. And then Lily, I think we've seen her look before in flashbacks to like college. She's got like, this goth like black hair
Mm.
and bangs, and she's in the little, black and pink dress with the fringe on the top. Sorry, I gotta go to my
What?
musical book. I'm singing a song from Oklahoma.
Oh, okay.
Don't worry about it. I'm just out nerding myself. So we learn, they're talking about the future, and we learn that Scooter is going to go to umpire school. I didn't Google if that was a thing. I assume not.
Probably there might be like some sort of like training thing, but I don't know if it's school.
Well, okay, you're going to look this up now with your
Yeah,
folks.
I'll look it up. I mean, there's something, but
I wonder how long an umpire degree would take. Umpires, right in.
how do I become an MLB umpire? Something I never thought about before.
To be fair, you and I aren't
Umpire
really
camps.
people.
I guess I imagine that you'd probably be like umpiring for like little leagues, and then like you would try to move up and
Yeah.
like once you've like gained the
Or
skills or whatever.
and maybe, you actually play professional baseball and then develop a skill set for calling plays and things on the field. It's like how like former players become coaches. I assume that maybe that would happen with umpires.
Yeah, I mean, this is like preliminary training, but how long is the camp?
So
Spring
this is a
training in March
camp.
to the end of the regular season. Yes, it's not that long. Yeah, probably calling at school is probably just for comedic effect.
Well, I'll tell you what I did Google. Lily's excited for Scooter, and she goes disco. And I took to Urban Dictionary because I was like, is this like an expression from 1996 that I don't remember? And honestly, it wasn't. I don't know why she just exclaimed disco because I couldn't find that being like slang for anything. I guess she took it to me like, oh, that's awesome, but that
Hmm.
befuddled me a little bit.
Yeah, that's weird.
Yeah, whatever. And she's like, oh, Scooter, you're going to be an umpire someday. And he's going, no, babe, we're going to be an umpire someday. Kind of getting the sense that maybe Scooter's a little more invested in being a we than she is.
Seems like it. Yeah.
Back at the apartment, Marshall's taking a picture of Barney and Lily. Barney's in between Lily and Robin. Like, Robin's got her arm on his shoulder, and Lily's giving him kind of like, she's got his like hand on his chest. Honestly, I think they went in the wrong direction here because they both look way classier than they did with the first dresses. So if Barney's criticism was that they were too classy, they really fudged it up.
I don't know how. I mean, it's just it's slightly classy though. Like but it's
Not
maybe more like a club type.
maybe Robin's wearing, kind of a little black dress with, like, a spaghetti strap. I think it's actually very cute. I don't know if I'd even call it slutty. Lily, she's wearing, like, this animal print dress with a chunky necklace and boots that nobody under age 30 would wear. So that means I would wear this outfit that Lily's wearing. Like, I'm not even judging it. I'm just saying I wouldn't wear it at high school prom. This is a very adult look.
Hmm.
But then Barney gives some corsages. It's actually very cute.
Well, yeah, it was very nice of them. Like surprisingly so.
Yeah, like they don't even make like a gross double entendre or anything about like their budding flowers or I don't know. They was just on genuinely being sweet here. And Robin starts to tear up a little bit because she's like, "Oh my gosh, I'm actually getting to go to like a prom." I was just a nice touch with this course, just because I forgot about those actually. I had one. So Barney leaves with the girls, and Marshall turns to Ted and says, "Aw, they grew up in a skink so fast." Again, do not find them skinky whatsoever. So they talk about doing a shot of Jim Beam, but Marshall says, "Okay, but first we can do that, but then we need to stuff 200 wedding invitations." That sucks. Like, I'm wondering if they even sent out wedding invitations at this point for a wedding that I guess was going to happen
Um,
a few months down the line. I get it though, because all of a sudden now it's like, let's say that like hypothetically, like they had this original date. It was gonna be several months into the future. Like honestly, at this point, like I would be calling people and being like, hey, I know we said this was gonna be in like November. Now it's gonna be like in July. So
I wonder if they didn't even have, like, a set date because they were still, like, figuring out venues, but, like, it was, like, at the end
maybe.
of this month or something they had.
And maybe they did call people too, but I can see why it has to be like an immediate priority because they need to give people time. I'm assuming people are, well, Marshall's family, we know they're going to come from out of town. Certainly it's
Yeah.
a good flight away. So, but Ted wants Marshall to take a break, and Marshall's trying to incentivize Ted by saying, "Oh, we'll make a game out of it. I'll give you a prize." And I guess maybe a little callback to Marshall's love of games. Ted is dismissive of this, but then he wants to know what the prize is. Outside of the high school, Lily, Robin, and Barney are debating how to best get into this prom. Seems like a conversation they should have had earlier, but okay, whatever.
Sure.
Lily says that it's about confidence and that she used to sneak into clubs when she was younger. And I don't know if we've gotten these hints before. I feel like we've had a couple that Lily might have been like a little wild when she was younger.
Yeah.
They confidently boogie their way over into the front door, but security shuts those down immediately.
Lily's just terrible at pretending to be a kid.
Yeah, they're really bad liars.
"Woohoo, going to prom, woohoo."
Yeah. They're a gorgeous looking group of people, but they are not 18 years old. I assume
No.
the actors, I remember we looked this up like when we were recording the first episode, but I'm pretty sure all the actors were older than like the actual, I think Colby Smub. I
Older.
still cannot say that woman's name. Kobe Smulders. I think she was the youngest and she was like late 20s at that point. Lily backs off right away, but then, she turns it back around. She's like, I gotta, she explains her predicament to the security officers. A man in a tux, I don't know if he's the principal or whatever, but he makes this comment like, oh, and you're just like finding a band now, you're getting married in 2 months. Barney has to restrain Lily because she goes to attack him, which is kind of similar like the deal with Claudia.
Yeah.
Wedding planning makes women violent, I think is what we're supposed to take from the show. But he says, sorry, ma'am, you need to be a student or a date of a student, which, low blow. Lily's offended that he called her ma'am. And you know what? Fair. I'd be a little offended. Barney wants, they're trying to figure out, okay, what's plan B here? And Barney wants to know how comfortable Robin is with a crossbow. But Robin's got a strategy of her own. And she saunters up to these two, they're clearly nerds, standing. I don't know why they're standing outside the prom, but they are. And she propositions them. You're like, hey, you want to take like two hot ladies to the prom? Hey, Nick, is one of them playing like a Game Boy? What is he playing there? I didn't even know.
I did not know this, but probably something like that.
Yeah. One of them thinks she's a hooker because he was like, sorry, we don't have that kind of money. But then they realize this is for real and like, oh man, this is the dream. So Lily and Robin, they've got their dates. They're going on in. But Barney, he's like, I'm going to figure out a way to get in on my own. Don't worry. Go to commercial break. Oh, God, sorry. Before we do, I'm just like checking out. So there's like, I'll just call them the schlubs. The schlub in the glasses. I love how sparkly his tuxedo is. It's so great. Commercial break. We're in the prom. They made it. But just as they're entering, the band stops playing. So the sparkly tuxedo guy wearing glasses offers, he's the one who, as far as I can tell, he never got a name. He offers Robin a flask. Robin's kind of leaning into this. She's like, oh, what the hell? It's prom. But after she takes a swig, she starts to cough. It's cough syrup. He explains to Robin that they got fake IDs, but they say they're only 20. And they kind of figure this out after the fact. Robin says, nerds who aren't good at math, life's going to be rough, boys.
I think especially these scenes with Robin and the two schlubs, something is really off about them. I don't know, like, if it's, like, how they're shot, like, you almost get, like, full body shots of them. The way Robin's acting doesn't seem like it's in character. I don't know, so it feels like kind of a traditional sitcom sort of thing, rather than, like, something that really fits into this show.
Yeah?
And I think that maybe it's just, like, an extreme version of what kind of permeates the whole episode, maybe. It just feels like kind of like a ridiculous sitcom plot that you could find in any sitcom.
I'm sensing this might be part of what you didn't like about this episode. Too
You
sitcom-y?
would be right.
Okay, well, okay, I'm gonna pay attention to this as I describe the rest of it. Maybe. I did think it was a funny premise, but we can come back to all that. So now Lily's talking to the band, who Nick has informed us is real. And she asks if they can play Good Feeling by the Violent Femmes. She explains the situation. Apparently, that's Marshall and Lily's song. The guy is like, he says he's so wasted that he didn't get any of that. But yeah, if you give me the sheet music, we can play it. I'm wondering if this was a standards and practices thing because I would peg him as high and not wasted, just like
Mm,
what his eyes
yeah.
are doing. But it's okay. That's fine. We get it. I did listen to the whole song "Good Feeling" on Spotify. It's a nice song. It was released in 1983. For the first thing that popped up with the Violent Femmes actually is the band is apparently still touring.
Oh, nice.
Yeah. So, Vanessa Carlton, like, she has nothing to worry about. She's not from 1983. I wonder if back to Robin and I'm just gonna call him Glasses. Glasses asks if Robin is buzzing, and she says that her phlegm feels looser.
Yeah, that joke made no sense to me.
God, it was kind of funny.
But, like, why is she, like, so humoring these 2 and, like, I don't know, just never didn't fit with what we know about Robin, I don't think.
I think Robin is having a moment where she's just leaning into the situation and going with it and having a good time and not taking it too seriously.
I guess, I don't know.
All
It
right.
just felt like a weird joke to throw in. Anyway, we can move on.
But back at the apartment, Marshall and Ted are stuffing envelopes, and Ted is complaining and saying they should be at a bar, getting into fights and brawls, and then he kind of like sentimentally tells Marshall that, hey, if you got into a fight, I would have your back. And Marshall says, that's cool. I took that as, okay, he's like not wanting to get overly like emotive here, but maybe that was a misreading of it because Ted's kind of takes it as Marshall's like, oh, cool. Like, I wouldn't actually need your help. I don't know if that's how
Mm.
Marshall meant it, but that's certainly how Ted took it. At that point, Robin calls Marshall to ask him to download the sheet music and bring it out to New Jersey. I guess this is pre smartphones, right?
Or, like, even if they had a smartphone, like, they would have to show it to the band and be able to play it from a smartphone, which
Need
yeah,
a
so
tablet, I
even if
guess.
they had it, they would need you need, like, a tablet, yeah.
Yeah, which I'm assuming bands probably do use tablets more than they, you know, did before they
Yeah,
wrote.
probably today, it would.
Marshall asks Robin if Ted can come, and Robin, she starts talking to Marshall about, her issues with Ted, and it's one of those. I don't know if there's a term for this, but it's one of those like tropes where you're in theory supposed to be paying attention to what's happening in the foreground of the scene, but what's happening in the background is actually a lot funnier and more engaging. So you see Barney actually kind of just getting like I don't know if he actually did get like a grapple hook or what, but somehow he managed to like make his way up to the roof of this gymnasium and he's like shimming his way down and immediately gets tackled by security. So that really distracted me from that whole conversation, which was probably the point. The thing is, I guess when you have like, scenes set up this way, you're not whatever's happening in the foreground can't be too important. But
Uh-huh.
what comes of this conversation, between, Robin and Marshall is that if, Marshall absolutely must bring Ted, then she's not going to, like, claw her eyes out if he does come. And, like, during this whole conversation, like, Ted is just bouncing around Marshall like an eager, kid wanting to know what she's saying, and Marshall hangs up, he's like, "No, Ted, she totally wants you to come," and Ted punches the air.
Uh,
Pieces.
it's kinda funny when they're back in school.
It is, it's cute.
It's kind of a recurring, joke they come back to.
However misguided Ted might be at this point.
Yeah.
Back at the prom, Lily's kind of sitting in the bleachers, honestly looking like she's about to have a panic attack. Robin wants to know if she's okay, and Lily's like, it's all moving too fast. Here we had a really good transition, I thought, between the present and a flashback.
Mm.
So we cut to the 1996 prom where Lily's dancing with Scooter. So, clearly at that time, Lily's also told Scooter, this is moving too fast. And Scooter's like, what are you talking about? We've been together 2 years already. And Lily's like, well, I don't want everything in my life decided already. Scooter clearly does. He's like, oh, quick, decided. I'm going to go to umpire school. You're going to go to college. We're going to move to my dad's house. We're going to have like kids. And, what's decided? um, Lily breaks up with Scooter. And she says that she wants to travel and live abroad as an artist and maybe have a lesbian relationship. I do think actually, I don't know if we got this before, but I think we get a little foreshadowing in this episode to Lily having, well, I don't think this is a huge spoiler. She has like a little girl crush on Robin. It's like one of the recurring jokes throughout the series. Yeah, and maybe Lily having some bi-curious tendencies in general. And she concludes this by telling Scooter that she thinks she only dated him because he looked a little bit like Kurt Cobain. I had to Google Kurt Cobain because, like, obviously I know who he is. I just, he was a little before my time. It's not like I really listen to his music. I see it. She's not wrong. Like, do you know what Kurt Cobain looks like?
Vaguely, yes.
Yeah, I think she nailed it. But then Lily starts to shout, like, please don't put that kind of pressure on me. It's too much. Now, the transition to this flashback I liked a lot. The transition out of the flashback back to the present day, this type of thing bugs me in
Hmm.
sitcoms and shows in general because I find it inorganic. Like, it's not like Lily had a stroke, it's not like she was sitting there, in this off. I mean, I guess like we're meant to believe that she was kind of off in her own headspace, but I find it kind of unnatural that like, oh yeah, this person's like, reminiscing and therefore they're like shouting out what's happening inside their head to like whoever's around them.
Yeah, I think more it was like she was responding to them as if it was back in the moment with Scooter. Like, I don't know if she was, like, imagining the whole thing and saying out Scooter, but, like, yeah, I guess it's more like like a fake trauma flashback, I guess.
Almost like if someone genuinely had PTSD, I'm sure that's a thing, but I don't know. I don't love the use of
Mm,
this type of thing in
yeah, yeah.
sitcoms. But Robin says, well, we promised someone dance, and Lily collects herself and goes off to dance with. Now I think this is the point where we find out this guy's name is Andrew. So Robin goes to dance with Glasses, and Lily goes to dance with Andrew. Lily wants to know what Andrew's life plan is. He says he's going to go to college and then move to Prague or start a video game company or something.
Very
You know,
focused hands.
very focused. But that's okay because he's presumably around 18. Good for him for keeping his options open. Lily starts unloading on him. She's like, no, like you're not going to do any of those things. You're going to get a girlfriend the first day of college. You're going to give up on all your hopes and well, my notes say reams, but I assume here I meant dreams. The only thing that Andrew is focused on, he just latches onto this hope of, oh, you think I'm really going to get a girlfriend in college?
Mhm.
And then Glasses has the audacity to ask Robin if he's going to get lucky tonight. And Robin is initially so sweet about it. She starts trying to let him down gently.
Uh,
And then he throws up. Well, I guess he had some more of that cough syrup on because he throws up all over Robin. And then she's like, no, you're not getting lucky tonight. No. We cut to commercial break. And then back at the prom, Ted and Marshall arrive, and the first person they run into is Barney in a turtle mascot costume. Barney explains that Lily's in the bathroom, and then he demands to know, and that's what I wanted to know, like, how did you guys get in here? Apparently, they're just snuck in the back. Barney, however, paid a janitor $200 to borrow a mascot costume. And at this point, like throughout the rest of the episode, Ted is just like milking like the turtle related jokes and puns. He says slow and steady won the race. So Marshall approaches the boys and he asks if they've seen Lily, his fiance. And Andrew like immediately gets super aggressive and starts like pushing Marshall. And he's like, yeah, like, I finally get like a girl basically to go out with me and you're not taking her away from me. And Marshall clearly thinks this is cute. But then Andrew whips out some nunchucks and like hits Marshall with these. And then Ted sees this, I guess, because then just out of like the side, he like tackles this kid. But actually, at this point, I started laughing my ass off, and there's no reason this should be this funny. But the subtitles say as Ted's tackling the kid, he goes, "I'm coming at you."
okay. So, wait, the subtitles?
Like Ted, I think, because I know he shouted something, I just couldn't tell. But yeah, apparently he
Okay.
shouted, "I'm coming at you."
Okay.
I don't know why, that just really tickled me. Excuse me. In the bathroom, Lily's there, I guess, helping Robin clean herself up. Lily says that she can't believe she unloaded on a high school senior, and Robin cleverly flips this around and says, I can't believe a high school senior just unloaded on me. Robin then very intuitively asks Lily, and she's really apologetic about it and kind of tentative, but she asks her, are you having second thoughts? And I gotta say, I like the friendships in this group. Lily and Robin obviously haven't been friends for too long. They met first episode, I guess. But it's clear they've already bonded pretty quickly. I get the sense maybe Lily, like she's obviously very close with Ted, and even Barney, but maybe she doesn't have a lot of female friends. Yeah, sometimes, like, the dynamics in this group, for all the criticism I think this show probably gets about different things throughout the series, I so far have really liked the representation of healthy friendships.
Yeah, it's been pretty good on that mark.
Yeah, they're really honest and loving with one another. Lily actually kind of readily admits this to Robin, but she couches it by saying, it's not that I'm having doubts about Marshall, I'm having doubts about myself. And she tells Robin, like, here are all these things that I wanted 10 years ago. And we get a flashback, a really cool flashback actually to Lily starting college. So I guess this must have been like a few months after the prom. And she's setting up a stereo in her dorm room. And she's going on about, oh, these are my hopes and my dreams. I want to live abroad. I want to be an artist. And I can't do that with a boyfriend shackled around my neck. And then, "Oh, I'm sorry, what was your name again?" And, camera reveals that she's actually been talking to college, age Marshall, who's looking just absolutely infatuated with her. And then they introduce one another, they're apparently hallmates. And then Lily starts playing Good Feeling on the stereo that she was setting up, and turns out they both love that song, so I guess that's how I was established that this is their song. I really liked that. I actually
Yeah.
really like these college flashbacks in the show in general. Back in the bathroom, Lily says, "Look, I didn't have any of these experiences that I set out to, traveling, being an artist, the lesbian experience." And Robin starts reassuring her, "You're marrying your best friend. It's worth all these other experiences. You can still travel, you can still paint. That's all true." And then she said this as far as the lesbian experience, and she gives her the sweetest little kiss on her lips. And then Lily immediately starts teasing Robin about, "Oh no, field hockey, huh?"
But little do we know it's gonna spark something and it's gonna awaken something in Lily, apparently, going forward. Also so actually in this bathroom conversation, that's where Robin says, "But, I don't know if
Oh,
it's for the first time in the series, but, like, we should
where?
track," because, it might have been right before she asks, if she's getting cold feet, I don't remember exactly, but it's in that
I
conversation.
wonder if the writers actually wrote that in later this series because, like, the actress did it a lot or something?
Good question.
Well, I think
I
what
don't
we
know.
learned from that future episode is we should not turn this into a drinking game every time Robin says, "But,
Absolutely.
back outside at the school, the guys, I guess they've been forcibly removed from the prom. Nick, I have gotta tell you, these are clearly actors. Look at these security officers. These look like the hot cops from Arrested Development. There's
Yeah.
absolutely
Yeah.
no way in heck that they're security officers. But apparently they list all these potential criminal charges: trespassing, assaulting a minor, stealing what apparently was a $5,000 costume. I wonder how which mascot costumes actually are.
It's quality costume.
Yeah. Whew. Boy, that's pricey. They point out that they could arrest them. Ted actually makes a good counterpoint. What kind of security officers are you? You let a kid in with nunchucks. I think this is actually a pretty good self-defense argument. Like, this guy, like, clearly, like, Andrew escalated the situation. He brought out a weapon, attacked Marshall, and
Yep.
then Ted intervened. I think that he does have a leg to stand on here, at least from a common sense-based perspective, maybe not a legal perspective. Those often do not overlap, speaking as a lawyer. Ted and Marshall in the middle of this start bickering about whether Marshall actually needed Ted's help in this situation. Marshall begs the officer, "Can you let me just go in for one more song?" They're not going to let him, but then Barney's like, "Okay, guys, get ready to run." And then he steals the mascot head and takes off. I guess now he knows how much, like, this thing cost. So the security officers immediately take off after Barney, and Marshall and Ted are able to get back into the prom. So, okay, the 88, they're going to play, Marshall and Ted's. Oh my God. The 88 are gonna play Marshall and Lily's song. This goes out to the redheaded girl and that tall guy, which, it's a fair way to describe them. Um, so Lily is, she's come out of the bathroom with Robin, and they find one another and start dancing together. Ted and Robin then see each other, and, they're like, okay, they go for it. They start to dance with each other too. Ted wants to know how Robin's prom was, and she says, "Okay, well, I hated my dress. My date got wasted and puked on me. There was a fight, and I kissed a girl." Ted's like, "Okay, so it's prom." They sort of make up here. Like, Robin's clear that it's like, "Look, I missed you. It's not that we're gonna make out. It's not that, like, I forgive you exactly. It's just that, like, I missed you."
It's the first steps towards making up, I think.
Yeah. I guess it's been several weeks at this point, if not a couple months, so this didn't feel too early for me.
Well, it feels like they've been yeah, how long would it have been?
Well, okay, so there was, like, 3 weeks where she didn't return his calls. And then I don't know how long
Well,
after.
there were 3 weeks in real life between the 2 episodes as well, so I don't know if they're just loosely trying to, like, keep have it be, like, kind of real time, but yeah, I guess it could be longer.
I don't know that Ted has done enough to redeem himself,
No. No, he
but,
hasn't.
I guess, regardless, these are Robin's feelings, and I guess, like, if they're constantly being thrown into situations together where they kind of, like, have to be at least civil to one another, maybe, like,
Yeah.
that exposure would it's, like, almost easier for her to, like, forgive him and, like, on some level, miss him. I don't know. I like a grudge maybe a little bit more than Robin does. And then we get a very brief but awesome cutaway to outside of the school where Barney is now teaching the schlubs how to live. One of them is taking notes. Andrew, actually, he's the one taking notes. It's so fantastic. It's probably all of like 10 seconds, but it was a great addition. And then we get to the end of the episode. Marshall and Lily are dancing. They've decided that they agree on the band, and Marshall's like, "Oh man, yeah, we got like the wedding's in 2 months," and Lily's like, "Yeah, 2 months." And then we see she's got a really unsure look on her face.
Mm.
And cut to credits.
So, any other discussion items for you?
You know, I have some questions about Lily that I think are better saved for your episode, so I'm gonna
Alright.
sit on that. I have 2 questions. I'm gonna start with this one. Well, first, Nick, did you go to your prom?
I did, yeah.
What was it like?
So, backing up a little bit, so actually was on one of the very first online dating sites for high schoolers.
Really? Wait,
It
wait.
was called
It's like 2003 or 2000.
Yeah, it was called E-Spin the Bottle.
Oh my god, why is it so great?
So, yeah, I matched with someone on there who went to a neighboring high school,
Mhm.
and I ended up asking her out to the prom because I needed a date, and, yeah, she was lovely, gorgeous in her dress, and I think she was, like, 1 year younger than me.
Mhm.
And but so the prom so my school is very small. So there were like when I graduated, there were like 60 people in my graduating class. So and then the people who ended up like kind of like in charge of the prom, I would say they're not the most like reverent people in terms of like what they like. So the prom was entirely like kind of like club music at the time, like
Mhm.
pop, rock. There were no slow songs at all. And I was sort of hoping for at least, like, some, like, romantic aspect to it, but there's none at all,
Mhm.
and so it just ended up being kinda awkward. Another of my classmates, her date was someone who also went to her high school, so she had a friend there, basically. She maybe spent a little more time hanging out with him than with me, so, yeah. It wasn't very eventful, and I drove her home, and I don't think I ever saw her again.
And,
But I got this great corsage for her that, like, really matched her dress. It was like a bright blue and pink purple flower.
oh, you got her a corsage?
Yeah, of course. I did the tux too and everything, or well, I forget if it was like, at least like formal enough. I have to dig out a photo that actually
I
remember what I
know,
meant.
I was just about to ask. I really wanna see a prom photo for you.
I will send that to you. I'll see if I can find it.
I don't think I have like, I'd have to go back to my parents' house to send you mine, but fair's fair.
Yeah, so what was your prom like?
So I actually went to 2. When I was a junior, my boyfriend was a senior, so I went to prom with him, and it was fine. I actually had a gorgeous dress. It looked a little bit like my wedding dress in the sense that it was like a halter top thing. Yeah, it was fine. And then my senior prom, I was actually still dating him at that point. Of course, he had gone off to college, so I went with my friend group, and that was fun. I had a sparkly blue dress, and yeah, it was just a lot of like dancing and hanging out, and yeah, honestly, probably had more fun at my senior prom because I went with a group of friends.
I think there was only one prom that we had, or like then maybe there was another one, but it was like not nearly as formal or something. Yeah, I don't quite remember what the details of that were. But yeah, I only had one, like, prom, where there was, like, a prom king and queen and all that.
Mhm. Oh, yeah, you actually had a prom queen and king? I didn't know that happened outside of movies, like Mean Girls.
No, yeah, it's a thing.
Wow, okay, I had no idea. I don't remember us having anything like that.
You went to a private Christian high school, right?
I went to a private school that pretended that it wasn't a Christian-based school, but it clearly was.
Yeah, maybe it's a more common, like, public school tradition or
Maybe.
something.
We need to start when we release the episodes, we need to put in polls. Like, I genuinely wanna know, like, how many listeners, like, had a prom king and queen.
Yeah, tell us about your prom stories. I'm very curious.
Yeah, did, like, your date throw up on you? Did you kiss a girl in the bathroom? Did a bunch of creepy 30-year-olds crash your prom? Well, so then that's a great segue.
Oh, I do remember
Mhm.
it. I don't think it was an issue at my prom, but I do remember there were some controversies at times where, like, I think it was usually girls at the school tended to have, like, older boyfriends that they wanted
Um,
to bring in, and so they had to have a policy, like, no one over the age of, like, 20
I could
could
see that.
come or 21. Although
Well,
I kinda miss formal dances, like, at school,
like
having, like, a
gala.
regular social occasion to dress up and, like, with slow songs, everything. Like, all we have here is, like, I mean, you can go to clubs, but, like, that's not romantic.
Yeah, you know what? They were always a letdown for me. So, listeners, like,
Well, I mean, they were always let down mostly let down for me too, but also, like, it was the possibility of, you know?
yeah, I see what you mean. And like dressing up is fun. And yeah, we had this formal every year at our college, Nick's in my college called gala.
Oh, yeah, yeah.
You know
Love
what
the
I
gala.
liked honestly was like the chocolate covered tuxedo strawberries. That's what I went for. But no, I know what you mean.
I think with what at least, as a, somewhat awkward guy myself, a nerdy guy, having, like, kind of a built-in excuse to get close to someone and or to, like, have a bridge into something romantic for the where it's, like, not just based on, like, trying to talk over everyone in a loud bar,
Mm,
um, is kind of appealing, and then, like, it's kinda like you can test the waters in a kind of structured way where it's also not like, like, club dancing is tends towards, like, kinda more, like, sexualized type of moves, and
mhm.
I don't think that's conducive to, romance anyway, so
I
I
think
think there's things we could do better in, society, but I guess there's probably not a market for that.
yeah.
Anyway, that's my little
Yeah.
rant about dances.
Well, now would you like to rant about this episode? The floor is
Actually,
yours.
before that, because you brought up the throwing up, I wanted to actually ask you, have you ever thrown up on someone in a dating context or had someone throw up on you?
I don't think so. I don't think so. Have
Well,
you?
I have,
Really?
sort of.
Good on you.
So I one summer in high school, it was I think summer after junior year. Um, I did this thing called Global Young Leaders Summit in DC. It was like DC and then a day in Philadelphia and then New York City doing like Model UN type stuff, but not really that. And so like people from like kind of like all over the world. It was maybe like no more than like 50 kids around the same age on the bus to Philadelphia. So and we were on like a college campus on each end. I think one was like it was American University, and so we're eating kind of like dining hall type food, but it was not great dining hall type food. And I remember having the pancakes that morning, and something was a little bit off about them. Maybe they were undercooked or something, but it was pancakes, so like how could they go wrong, right?
Mhm.
So like maybe a couple hours later on the bus, I'm sitting next to this girl I kind of had a little crush on, who
Oh,
was
no.
she was from Sweden. And so along the way, like she was getting tired, so I actually like tried to be like chivalrous. So I offered that she could rest her head on my shoulder to nap, and she did. So I was like, "Oh, okay, this is maybe going in a good direction." By the way, a summer camp or summer thing like that age is so full of hormones. It's kind of crazy. But anyway, that's beside the point. So, like a little bit down, I started feeling ill, and I ended up needing to throw up, and I got like a trash bag for me, and I threw up in the trash bag, and I was like basically sitting next to her, and I was clearly grossing her out, and like I ended up like once we got to Philadelphia, I had to go to the bathroom to like I guess I threw up another couple times, and yeah, I don't think she spoke to me again after that.
Oh, Nick. At least you didn't throw up on her.
No, no, but it's probably pretty disgusting. Anyway,
Did you have any that's so aughts?
yeah, I picked out the generic music they played while the band was on break,
What was
and
it?
that also goes into my like the whole thing for the episode. Like, it didn't really fit. It definitely felt like it was out at like a maybe like 80s ish, like but like hokey and not. It's not something you would play at a dance. I don't think. Like, it's something I ever heard of High School Dance.
Okay.
What about you?
I didn't really have any good ones other than the fact that, like, Marshall had to literally print out and drive out to New Jersey to deliver, like, a hard
Mm,
copy of sheet music. I think there's multiple ways these days that you could probably have just gotten that to well, I guess the band these days could have gone online.
yeah, yeah, definitely.
Yeah. All right. Well, I'm just gonna get my rating out of the way to give you some
Sure.
space to tell me I think you had bigger thoughts about this. I am going to give it 3 out of 5 flasks full of cough syrup
Okay.
because it was again, like, I clearly, this was not an episode that left a great impression on me. I didn't really remember what it was about going into it. I ended up finding it funnier than I thought I would. I thought it was a funny, solid premise. There's some good jokes in it. But beyond that, it was not. It wasn't their most impressive episode. So yeah, it's like a solid B, right? It's a 3 out of 5 for
Mhm.
me.
Okay. Well, I gave it 1 out of 5 turtle mascots.
Whoa, is that your lowest?
Lowest so far. I
Okay.
figure 0 is valid, but that's only, like, if I actively, like, hate it and, like, wish it never aired, which this isn't quite that. Um, it just I don't know, it felt a little weird. There's not a lot there that I enjoyed. I don't find, like, most of the jokes particularly funny. Like, they're like, maybe it's, like, the Lily Marshall bits are, like, kinda touching, but, like, I don't know, it just felt like it was just a very, very weak episode.
Mhm. Okay.
Yeah, I guess that's all I have to say about it. I don't wanna spend more time on it, really.
I don't even have strong enough feelings about this episode to try to defend it or engage with you on any of those points, so maybe that says something about the episode too, that I'm not even willing to, like, jump to its defense, but I definitely didn't dislike it as much as you. Well,
Alright.
and then I guess let's get away from this episode, let's talk about yours.
Please, let's do, to a much better episode, I think. So yeah, my episode is Milk, episode 21. This aired May 8th, 2006. The guest stars I'll call out, there's Bob Rorschach, who is played by Eric Allen Kramer. He's with lots of one-off episodes, and I just want to call out there's so many shows that like never heard of that never like broke through to like my circle. So there was an show that he was on lots of episodes of called The Huleys, and then a
No.
Disney Channel show that he was in tons of called Good Luck Charlie.
Okay.
And so yeah, if anyone loved these shows out there, like let us know that you exist. I'm kind of curious. Have you heard of these, Mickey?
No. No, not at all.
And then, there's Butterfield, who was played by Nate Torrance. I didn't see, many anything that stood out, but he's been, in various different, shows. And then the paramedics who show up at the bar later, they're played by Craig Thomas and Carter Bays, the creators of the show.
Oh! They were kinda cute.
So, the description of this episode: Lily is getting cold feet about getting married and almost pulls a Victoria. Ted almost meets his perfect match, but stands her up. Barney recruits Marshall into a prank war with a man in a neighboring building, and Robin becomes El Tigre. You get the reference?
I get that she looks like a tiger. No, I
Uh,
didn't don't.
Senior Chang calls himself El Tigre,
Oh,
and
yeah, okay. I'm with you.
I guess
It's
it's a
like the
very, very indirect reference, but
least insane thing that Senior Chang does. It's a
all right. So starting an episode, we have a visual of like as if like a camera's in front of a car and you're just like seeing the road come by and it's dark out. So you just see the headlights. And Future Ted is saying, "Kids, life is a dark road. You never really know what's up ahead. One night you're cruising along, enjoying a ride, and all of a sudden you're 28," which is very funny to
28.
hear being 39.
Yeah, and 38 respectively.
So we start in McLaren's, and Ted is looking depressed at the end of the booth. He's like in some kind of like bishop crown party hat thing, and then the gang also has party hats on in various states. And Barney's for some reason it's on the side of his head. I don't know if that's a reference to something. Or yeah, did that make any sense to you, or is he just being funny?
I assumed he was just being funny.
Okay. So then Wendy, the waitress, who is only credited as waitress in this episode, uh, but they do name her Wendy in it. She drops off lasagna for Ted, and she warns him the plate is very hot. But Lily has to test this for herself, though, and Ted lets her, and she burns her fingers. She's like, "Oh, that's a hot plate." That's going to setting up the premise for the episode. Barney has promised Ted he'll do the greatest pickup line of all time for Ted's birthday, and the group is split about whether it's a good idea. Marshall thinks it'll be embarrassing and they'll have to stop coming there, which he says could be healthy for them, which is probably true. You're getting a lot of calories from those drinks. Barney approaches a beautiful woman and starts to give her a line when he reacts as if she's having an emergency, calling for an ambulance, having her sit down, and tells her not to talk. Wendy is helping him out here. He gives her water and he inspects her eyes with this little flashlight she's carrying. Robin, observing this, isn't convinced. Ted tells her to wait for it. Lily isn't paying attention and she observes that, 28 means only 2 years until the big 3-0. Future Ted says, actually, my 30th birthday wasn't so bad. Well, except for the goat in my bathroom. And he says he'll get to that later. So we're hinting at this future story with the goat now. We have no idea what it'll be. Lily asks if Ted is bothered by still being single at 28. And she asks if he doesn't hear his tedological clock ticking. Ted says, nah, he's hit the snooze button. Then the paramedics come in and they start to examine the woman. Barney says he thinks there's been some internal bleeding and fractures. And the woman asks, like, what are you talking about? Like, she's kind of frantic, but like, doesn't really know what's going on. And then Barney just says, you've had a terrible fall. She objects naturally, because of course she has. And Barney says, really? Because I could swear you fell straight out of heaven, Angel. And he shifts from this like panicked into like this kind of, affected, suave voice. And then he gives her a wink. She's processing this. And then Barney starts to like, he turns his head and like kind of like says out of the side of his mouth to like, give her your number as about the crowd is saying it. And he keeps doing that. And eventually the crowd does start saying, you give him your number. And then she relents laughing. Marshall says he can't believe she gave him her number. Robin quips that maybe she actually does have a brain injury. And then Ted's going back to himself. He says he's still single because he's picky, not going to settle. She has to be perfect. Lily asks him to define that. And Ted demurs about having a list, and Robin calls him on it. His list is attractive, college educated, wants 2 kids, a boy and a girl, likes dogs, likes Otis Redding, does the crossword, into sports, but only if her legs aren't more muscular than his, and Robin rolls her eyes with this. And she plays bass guitar. I don't actually get the bass guitar thing. It sort of feels out of left field for Ted as we know him.
It's very specific.
Yeah. But that's what he wants, I guess. And Lily says that he'll never find this girl. Yeah, it's pretty specific. And Ted says exactly. He'll wait for her to find him. He's done trying to plan it. And just then we show the scene at Love Solutions. Future Ted is saying, little did I know, but fate in the form of a 600 gigahertz super processing computer was taking care of it. So, as we're going over the scene, we see like the Love Solutions office from earlier in the season. It looks a bit disheveled. On the computer screen, we see like faces flipping by and see Ted's, and it flashes a match on the screen. So computers are not measured in 600 gigahertz. That's like maybe even impossible speed. Usually, if you're talking about a supercomputer, you'd be talking about flops, which is floating point operations per second, because the gigahertz is like the clock speed. It's like how fast it does any individual operation.
Okay.
And there's like a hard limit to how much a single processor can do because the speed of light limits things. And also like heat, because like the faster you drive things, like the more heat has to be given off, and it becomes really impressive. And things start melting. So you want to do that. You could like kind of hand wave that. Oh, that they're like kind of like adding up the speed of like multiple processors, but that's not really how things are done. So they just made it up. Yeah. So and then also you probably wouldn't need a supercomputer to search a database of at most a few thousand New Yorkers. Like anyway.
Wow, that's true, I guess. Well, boy, you more than answered my question. I was gonna ask because I have no reference point. I was gonna be like, Nick, is 600 like gigahertz a lot? But sounds like that's not even the correct measurement here. Flops?
Yes. Flops.
Love it.
Yeah.
I've got some follow-up questions, but I'm gonna save them for like a later date.
Okay. Look forward to those. So we're back at the apartment, and Ted wakes up and he comes out to find Lily all dressed and having just made pancakes. Ted excitedly wants to let Marshall know, which he does by opening his bedroom door and wafting the pancake smell into his room. And then Marshall kind of just like comes floating out seconds later and thanks Lily and says he should gobble her up instead. And Ted, who's now in the kitchen from off camera, says, "Please don't." So we're a continuous runner of them being too much in Ted's presence. Ted in the kitchen asks if the milk is any good. From the fridge, he takes a big swig and then he spits it up in the sink. So, Ted, smell it first. It's not
Also,
hard.
expiration date.
I mean, it's like it's usually a sell-by date or a bet, like, and then you have to like it's kind of variable when it actually goes bad, right? Because like it depends on how much it's been opened, or like if anyone's breathed into it, or
Yeah.
drank directly from it, which is probably makes it expire faster. Ted,
I have an
uh,
annual tradition of something makes me throw up, and the last time I threw up, I had milk that was expired by not even a day. I think I drank it the day of the expiration date, and I threw up.
and it didn't taste funny.
No, so I couldn't point to anything else that maybe made me throw up. Now, it's possible, but
Okay.
I'm really paranoid about it.
I've never. I mean, I don't think like food poisoning type stuff tends to grow in milk that quickly. It's usually just like the whatever bacteria is in there, like lactobacillus or whatever. Like it's breaking down the milk and acidifying it, and so it just goes off. As long as it's pasteurized milk, like. But also, over the past year, I discovered ultra pasteurized milk,
Mhm.
which it does taste a little bit off compared to regular pasteurized milk, but it actually like the
Oh,
expiration date isn't like for like sometimes like 2 weeks to a month from when you buy it, and then like once you open it it, like, takes weeks to actually go off if you're as long as you're, like, not being
what's that really good brand of milk? I think I know what you're talking about.
well, this one is it's just, like, the store brand, but it's, like, organic.
Okay. Alright, because, yeah, I do buy this brand of ultra pasteurized milk when it's on sale, and it's so good, and it'll be good for, like, months ahead of time.
Yeah. Because I also don't usually drink milk directly, I actually just use it to make my iced chais.
Uh,
So, like, even if it's, like, starts going off a little bit, like, the flavor is not,
mhm.
particularly bad because of the chai is so, yeah, I ultra pasteurized milk, like, look for it, it's great.
Ultra pasteurized milk,
What'd you say?
sponsor our podcast.
Yeah, right. Yeah, don't be like the people getting the raw milk and, like, possibly exposing themselves to bird flu and all kinds of absolutely terrible bacteria.
Oh, no. Okay. PSA here too.
So, yeah, Marshall says that it got him yesterday. So, Marshall knew it was bad, and he didn't throw it out, and Ted is upset that Marshall didn't throw it away, but then Ted also puts it back in the fridge. So, they have great habits here. Marshall raves about his pancakes again, but then he gets sad because it's the high point of his day. And future Ted reminds us that Marshall was interning at an evil company instead of an environmental nonprofit like he wanted. And then we go to Barney's office, and Marshall comes in asking questions about his requisition forms. However, Barney is looking out the window with these huge binoculars, snapping to get Marshall to use a second pair of binoculars. And Barney directs him to a corner office in the top floor, or on a top floor of a nearby building or a high floor. And Barney tells us that it's Clark Butterfield, who we see through the binoculars, eating a sandwich. And Barney said he did something to the sandwich and took a photo, but it's left to our imagination exactly what. Though Marshall had to turn his head to get it, like he's looking on the laptop and he's disgusted by it. So it's something that you had to like be at an angle to understand. So I'm assuming it's something involving genitalia. Barney emails the photo to Butterfield, and then they watch his reaction while Barney gives an evil laugh. Butterfield drops the sandwich and spits out his food, and Barney gives a thumbs up out the window. Marshall asks why he's doing this, and Barney says he doesn't know because the feud has gone on so long. But Marshall guesses that Barney started, and then Barney agrees. He's trying to go back to do his job, but Barney needs Marshall's help to defend against Butterfield's retaliation. Marshall says no. Barney has his assistant tell Marshall that he's no longer speaking to him. And then Marshall just cuts her off, says, very politely though, and leaves. Back to the apartment, the phone rings and it's Bob Rorschach of Love Solutions. And do we think they just couldn't get the original actor back?
Oh, I don't know. Maybe, but I did enjoy the last name.
Yeah. And Bob says they found the soulmate. So we go to commercial and we come back at Love Solutions. Ted asks Bob what happened to Ellen Pierce. Turns out that Bob's firm, a high end meats and textiles conglomerate, had bought out the company and put him in charge, which he loves. Ted dryly comments that he's in good hands and asks about the match. Bob slaps his folder on the table and says it's $500. Ted like throws it back down. He says, "Wait a second. The last girl was engaged." And okay, Ted, that was not the match that was given to you. That was you going to the files and finding someone on your own. That was
Thank
your fault.
you. Oh my god.
Bob urges him to just read the file, which he does. And now, over a series of images of women with the face blurred out, we see apparently she likes dogs. She summers in North Carolina. She plays bass guitar. Does a Times crossword, plays tennis, likes old movies, loves lasagna. She's Garfield. She loves Love in the Time of Cholera, which I've never read. Have
Me
you read it?
no, I've heard of it.
Mm. She loves Otis Redding, and wants 2 kids, a boy and a girl. Ted says, "All right, Bob set it up." We go back to Barney's office. Marshall comes in because Barney called him, and Marshall thinks that Barney was ready to make up with him. Barney asked Marshall to taste his latte and said that he thinks they gave him decaf. And Marshall takes a sip and says it tastes fine. Barney says, "Yeah, I thought so too." And then he shows Marshall a photo on his computer, and Marshall's immediately disgusted. And Mark says, "He got you as well." So he's just recruited Marshall into this. And we see Butterfield through the binoculars making faces at Barney. Marshall knows that he should just be mad at Barney, but he decides to join in. Marshall suggests brushing their teeth first, and Barney agrees. And then, okay, and right at that moment, we get that canned laugh again. The one, ha, he.
Oh, really? Okay.
Yeah, so listen for it. So we're gonna hear that again and again and again. So back in McLaren's, Ted is at the booth, and future Ted is telling us that he was waiting there for his perfect match, and he got there early. Okay, so I have a question for Ted here. You're meeting your perfect match, and you chose as a location the bar that just happens to be under your apartment? Not enough effort, Ted. Like, find a place in the middle, a little bit fancier, like not like fancy, but like make some effort. Like you know how to do this. Ted.
I'm
Oh, do you
gonna
have any thoughts
rise
on
to
that?
Ted's defense here, actually.
Okay.
I think it was sensible for Ted to select a location he felt comfortable in. So let's just assume that, like, this woman lived, like, not too far away. Then, yeah, actually, I'm on board with this choice.
Fair enough. But then his phone rings, and it turns out it's Lily who asks if he's busy. And he says, yes. And she suddenly remembers that he has a date. But she still asks him to take a cab out to Dutchess County and change a flat tire on Marshall's car. At least according to the maps I looked at, Dutchess County is like an hour and a half drive each way, not including traffic. So, but they also don't, later on, it doesn't seem like they play it like it's that far away. So it's a bit fuzzy, the timeline here.
I mean, he says that
But
he has to reschedule, or not like reschedule, but like it sounds like he had to call his date to be like, "Hey, are you okay with us pushing this back?" So doesn't
but
look
apparently he only pushed it back to later that night. So anyway, we'll get to that. Ted says no, like why aren't you calling Marshall? And Lily says that he can't no, but doesn't explain further. Ted still rightly refuses, and then Lily pretends she's about to be attacked by a drifter with a hook for her hand. And I did think it was kind of funny the way she made her voice warble a little bit. Um,
I like how you did that.
Thank you. Not as good as she did. And of course, whenever someone mentions a hook for a hand, I just think, "I'm a
I'm
monster."
a monster. It's going
Buster
to be
Bluth.
all right.
Yeah,
Sorry, guys. This is also an Arrested Development Appreciation podcast.
it is. Yes. And Lily, you're being super selfish. Call Robin. Call Claudia, who was your best
Well,
friend a few episodes ago.
right? Good point.
Uh,
Call literally anybody el call, like, AAA. I don't know.
yeah, I guess. I mean, she probably doesn't drive, so maybe she doesn't have AAA, and maybe Marshall doesn't drive a lot, so he might not either. But still, like, there's got to be like a tow company or something. I don't know. Yeah.
Somebody.
Anyway, but Ted relents. His loyalty to his friends is higher than anything else, so
Give him
he ends up
credit.
going. And we cut to commercial. When we get back, we are in Dutchess County, and Ted gets out of the taxi. So a $90 taxi ride, we find out.
Only.
And I mean, later on they play it like maybe it's only like a half-hour drive. So maybe that's what we're supposed to think of it as. But there's a mile marker that says it's like 76 miles to New Haven, which would be at least an hour. Yeah. Anyway, we'll get more into that later.
Mm,
All right. Oh yeah, and like taking a taxi that long, like I know some people do that,
mhm.
but yeah, I have a hard time like why like I, it seems like putting someone out so much. Like they shouldn't be expecting like such a long ride. But I guess they're getting paid enough for it, so do they care? I guess as long as they're paid enough to get back.
And, like, also, what we're going to find out about, it seems like Lily would even be invested in Ted not knowing about this, so she did have other options.
Yeah, yeah. But I guess I mean Ted is like the person she's closest to other than Marshall. And so I can see her like making that judgment. I don't know. So Lily gets out of the car and Ted guides her over the side of the road as people are honking. Lily checks in on Ted about his dates and he says that she understood that he needed to change it because she is perfect and eventually answer what's going on. Lily makes Ted swear on Luke and Leia, his unborn son and daughter, not to tell Marshall. Lily explains that she started getting insomnia a month ago because of the wedding pressure. When Ted asks, she said she didn't feel like she could talk to Marshall about it because he didn't seem like he'd understand, like doesn't seem nervous at all about tying a knot. And in this flashback, we see Marshall like kind of roll over the bed onto Lily, so like his like, wide open mouth like smashed against her temple, and his arms like draped over her face. So he's very comfortable with what's going on.
She's, like, hyperventilating in the bed, poor thing.
So Lily said like she would like you get up and like read and paint, and like, she got a high score in a video game, which Ted is impressed by, but she's like, oh, not the point.
Yeah, like,
um,
"Oh, that was you?"
Turns out Lily was inspired by Victoria to apply to an art fellowship in San Francisco, and it feels like that's the wrong thing you want to be telling Ted, really, who like just got screwed by this same type of thing. But Ted obviously doesn't like this. Lily says that she's not gonna do it because the dates conflict with the wedding, and she wanted to find out if she was any good at painting. Ted infers that she was going to the interview, which Lily confirms is in New Haven.
At, like, 10 o'clock at night? This is the thing that tripped me up in
So,
this.
well, it's Ted gets back to New York City at 9 o'clock.
It's dark out right now, and
I
it's
guess I mean
like
it depends on what
fall
time of
night.
year it is, right?
It's yeah, but it's, like,
Um,
May, right?
I guess if we're assuming it's the same, well, I mean May probably would be dark by 9. Well, yeah, maybe it's like early May. It is early May. Like it came out like yeah, this was like May 6th, right?
Like, what time is this woman's interview? I'm so confused.
Yeah, yeah. I mean, it's yeah, late on. Is it even a weekday or I don't know. Yeah, everything about the time of this is really off. Yeah, we'll get more into let's rant about that later.
Okay.
Because there's a lot to kind of break down about it. Yeah, of course, and of course, like she applied to it because the dates conflict with the wedding, which is like, why would you even do that? Oh yeah, so yeah, Lily confirms it was in New Haven, and so Dutchess County is not on the way from Manhattan to New Haven. It's like straight north from New York City, like a couple counties north.
Okay.
And you would just take I-95, which goes right along the coast from Manhattan to New Haven. And there's only 82 miles between Manhattan and New Haven, but there's a sign in the scene that says 76 miles of New Haven. So they didn't even like check the geography of this at all, I don't think.
Or Lily has 0 sense of direction.
That could be too. So at this point, Ted's like he realizes or he thinks he realized that she doesn't want to get married. And Lily's kind of in denial about this. Ted points out that Lily could easily have found our program in New York that was just selected if she wanted to. And Lily has tears in her eyes now in the midst of second thoughts. And Ted's mad about us, but she emphasizes it's not about Marshall and that she's not having those second thoughts really anymore. The flat tire is a sign. She loves Marshall. And then they hug as she sobs. Ted,
Well,
tries to calm her down. Hmm?
doesn't she like, in the last episode with Marshall, she immediately clarifies, the second thoughts are about me and not Marshall, but, like, here, like, I noticed she doesn't do that. Like, she doesn't necessarily say this isn't about Marshall.
I think maybe that's. I guess like in the next like, which is she loves Marshall. Like I think that's clear. I think it's just a continuation. It's about the art, the her fears about her
Yeah, but she
independence
doesn't make
or her
that
goals.
clarification for Ted, who wasn't there for the conversation last episode with Robin.
Yeah, I guess I felt like it was clear enough. But yeah, I mean, you're right. She didn't verbalize that specifically.
I just found that interesting.
Yeah, I guess we maybe discuss later if I think it means something more.
Mhm.
Uh, and Lily is wondering why Marshall isn't doing anything crazy. But then we cut briefly to Barney's office where we see Marshall is drawing on a whiteboard in Barney's office and planning a mouse attack on Butterfield with like a box. And so he's doing crazy things, not about the wedding, but just crazy in general. But back in Dutchess County, Ted finishes changing the tire. Lily gets a wild look and then says they should go to New Haven. Ted implores her to drop it. Lily rationalizes as needing to know if she can get in. Ted says it's a mistake. And then Lily has this convoluted rationalization that sometimes you have to make a mistake in order to know it's a mistake instead of wondering if it wasn't. And Lily thinks she's made no mistakes in life. And so she has regrets that, she didn't try things, which I mean, I can kind of relate to that in some ways, but also like, doesn't mean you should like screw things up in a big way. But anyway, when Lily asks if this makes sense to Ted, he says, I don't know, you said mistake a lot. And then Lily just gets in the car and says he just has to forgive her, and he's like kind of confused about what it is, and she just drives off, leaving Ted there.
Oh, that was
So,
that was That might be the worst thing Lily's done so far this season.
Yeah. Yeah, it is.
That's pretty bad.
Incredibly selfish, screwing over Ted and Marshall, not listening to sense or like, oh, yeah. Well, when we come back from commercial break, we're still with Ted in Dutchess County. Ted's leaving Lily a jokey but then angry voicemail, and he also says that he texted her the same thing. Uh, Back when voicemails were actually common. That's probably gonna be why that's so odds. Ted then calls Barney and asks for a favor, and Barney just says no. Marshall overhears, and Barney hands the phone to Marshall, who is handling like a bunch of white mice. And Ted tries to deflect once he hears Marshall's voice. Says no, he went apple picking. Marshall offers to come up and Ted says no, obviously because Lily has Marshall's car, and Ted pretends it was just a prank. At least it's nice that Marshall's like automatically, yeah, of course I'll come and pick you up, like
Yeah.
no brainer. And then we're stuck in Barney's office with Marshall and Barney, and they're loading mice into a box. While Marshall reveals that he's considering staying on full time. And I think so. Going back to the episode where they're doing the karaoke, like I think this buttresses my idea that like Marshall only committed to not being like the other people to fit in. He was just going to be himself, but like he hadn't ruled out. Maybe he didn't like say he was going to. I don't think he ever ruled out joining full time.
Yeah, I think this does actually support that. Like, at the beginning of the episode, I guess you see him feeling kind of bummed about having to go into work, but at least he seems to be having fun with Barney and enough that he would consider staying on full time.
Yeah. So then Barney's assistant Tracy is about to take off and asks if they plan on punching holes in the box. Barney says, "Sure, of course we are." But then when she leaves, they admit they hadn't thought of that, and that would be terrible to send him a box of dead mice. Back in Dutchess County, we see the Metro News 1 van pull up with Robin at the wheel. And she's wearing a big wool hat with the drawstrings down the sides. And for some reason, apparently Ted called Robin and she did the good thing and came up to get him. And she says, "Need a ride, cowboy?" Ted says he doesn't get into vans with strangers. Then she says she has candy, and Ted lights up and says, "Candy?" That was really funny. And he gets in. As they're driving, Robin asks what he was doing there, and Ted says he was sworn to secrecy, which there must be very few options available, right? If you
Hmm.
know Marshall is at work and Barney's at work, the only other person maybe would be involved is Lily, but then, like, I guess you wouldn't know what was going on. But
Yeah.
unless there are people in Ted's life we have no idea, never show up at the show. So Ted says he likes Robin's hat, and she says, "Damn it." I was hoping he wouldn't notice she was wearing something unusual. And Robin says that she got highlights. And Ted asked if she got for the waiting room of her dental practice. Robin was kind of like deadpan. Ted clarifies, and probably for the audience as well, because it's a children's magazine. Did you look at this magazine as a kid?
I had this magazine as a kid, and now my daughter has it.
Oh, yeah. Is it still going?
Yeah, it's still going. And they've actually, I didn't realize this until my grandmother got it, a subscription for her. But
Hmm.
yeah, they've got it for different age groups. So they'll put out like simpler, like monthly content for like, 0 to 2. And then like now she's on like the second, I think it is like phase or stage.
Oh, nice.
Mhm.
Lovely. So Robin says her stylist made it look too much like a tiger. So do you remember when a friend of ours from college got highlights?
Right, vaguely.
I mean, it wasn't quite as bad as this, but it was a very distinct, like very, very bright stripes, I recall.
You know what? This feels like a That's So Aughts thing, the chunky highlights.
Oh, yeah. Yeah, so I think it was pretty common for people to get highlights like that at that time. Like, I haven't heard much about highlights more recently, or at least, like, it's been, like, maybe, like, some more subtle touch in
Yeah,
here.
like low light.
Um, anyway, I just got a kick out of that. Yeah, so Ted really wants to see this, and he bets looks great. Robin asked about the date, deflecting. Ted lists off the qualifications, and Robin notes that she read Love in the Time of Cholera. Love in the Time of Borora is what she says. They keep bantering about her hair, and after hearing about his date wanting kids, Robin asserts she wants 0 kids. And Robin says, "Not everyone is as much of a woman as you, Ted."
Wait, didn't we already know this about Robin?
Oh, good question.
Maybe I was just assuming that because of what I knew later about her. Because, like, I guess we already knew that she's not really interested in marriage, and that was like the sticking point initially for them. But I don't
I
know.
guess we also don't know, like, was she, like, permanently saying never ever, or,
I don't
like,
know.
not anytime soon? Like, how strong was that decision?
Hmm.
Yeah, so, it's interesting. So we just get this, like, kind of reinforce like big incompatibilities between Ted and Robin at this stage. And then so Robin drops off at the bar and they say it's 8:56 at night. And then so apparently he pushed the date back to 9, but from when? Because if it was at 6, it would be like barely enough time for all this to happen. But okay, we'll get to that in the discussion, I think. So Ted steels himself to get out of the van, and Robin offers to cheer him up. So he goes into the smile, and Ted eagerly says, "Oh, she's gonna go. She's gonna show her hair." And Robin quips that she was gonna say her breasts. Ted chuckles and does his signature hand on heart.
Oh, yeah.
And
He does that a lot, doesn't he?
yeah, and actually they point out in the official podcast that became a trademark gesture for him. Robin shows it, and he laughs. And as Ted gets out of the van, this cool song starts playing called "Mother of Pearl" by Roxy Music.
Mhm.
But the repeated lyric that they highlighted is like, "I wouldn't change you for another girl." And it was Ted Robin as Robin drives away. Ted's turning around to watch the band go. We see an imagined future wedding, and we pan up to this rose petal covered aisle, and we see that Ted's at the altar with a bride who's covered by this massive veil. And he turns to the audience and looks at Robin sitting there, who is like kind of like sadly like smiling with fluctuating expressions on her face, like so she's trying to like be like strong in that moment and be happy for him. And then, back on the sidewalk, we see Ted is like, all teary eyed and smiling. And then he just like kind of goes up to his apartment instead of going to the bar. In the apartment, Marshall is like telling Lily about the pranks of the day. Lily's back already somehow.
Yeah.
This time makes absolutely no sense. Again, we'll get to this in a moment. Um,
Freaky.
so, so Ted asks Lily if she got the milk, and she dreamily says she did. Ted then asks Lily if she wants to drink the milk, and she says no, she doesn't need any milk while rubbing Marshall's arm. Marshall picks up on this weirdness, but he just kind of pushes it aside to excitedly ask Ted about his huge date. Ted says he didn't go. He doesn't want perfect. He wants Robin. Marshall does not take this well and starts like going on about all the reasons why it's a bad idea. He's trying to defend Ted and keep it from doing something bad, but Lily just gives him this little smile, and it's clearly or she thinks and he agrees it's a mistake he needs to make. Marshall is loudly trying to argue, but future Ted talks over him. Here's the thing about mistakes. Sometimes, even when you know something is a mistake, you gotta make it anyway. And we see a montage of Lily touching a hot plate, Ted trying the bad milk, and Robin revealing her hair. And then Barney sadly holding up a box with a hole chewed into it. And future Ted says, even really, really dumb mistakes. And we see also in that scene, we see Barney has a mouse crawling on his back. And we cut the credits. All right, I want to get the timeline discussion out of the way because
There's a lot to
what the
unpack here.
hell?
We need to figure out you're right. We need to establish what freaking time it is first.
Yeah. Okay, so it's a work day. Ted, assuming he works on Fridays, it probably okay. At like 6 o'clock is probably the earliest he could be meeting. He could be at the bar waiting for someone, right? So in all of 3 hours, he drives out to Dutchess County. He changes Lily's tire, and then Lily drives off to New Haven. He waits for Robin. Robin brings him back. So, okay, let's say it takes half an hour for him to change Lily's tire and also like argue with Lily and everything. So let's see, that gives us like, an hour and 15 minutes on each end for a drive. Like, okay, maybe. But then the Lily part of it, so she was trying to get out there like probably by she's stranded around 6. Like she's only like not even halfway to New Haven. She's like at least an hour and 15 minutes away from New Haven. And so she's stuck there for like an hour and a half waiting for Ted. And then somehow she drives to New Haven and then back all the way to New York City. At the same time, Ted's back. Yeah, not, that doesn't it doesn't fit in the window. Though I guess maybe the only thing that could maybe make it work is if instead of Ted going right to his apartment, he does something else for a while to like clear his head or something. And then ends up back in the apartment to talk to Marshall. But even then, like the geography makes no sense whatsoever. Dutch County itself is actually too far away and not on the way between New Haven and New York City. Yeah. Okay. What about you?
Temporal and some geographic problems here. Not to mention the fact that I don't know, for some reason the thing that bothered me, like everything else you're saying is just fanning the flames for me, but, like, I could not get past the fact that this interview was so late at night.
I know, yeah. Let's say it's, like, at Yale, maybe. Like, maybe for some reason, like, it's a university affiliated,
Probably,
so they do
actually.
interviews at all campuses. So maybe it's in the an evening, but, like, maybe only, like, up to, like, 7 or 8, maybe? I don't know. Yeah,
I
it's a
mean,
stretch.
yeah, even for artistes, that just sounds late. Um,
And why New
I
Haven rather than New York City? Like, wouldn't there be an interview in New York City? Seems like that would be more common
yeah,
anyway.
I mean, I'm okay with that, but yeah,
But also
this is one of those instances where I don't know, they maybe I don't know, this seems like they could have gone out ahead of this issue just by taking 10 minutes to
mm.
make out a little map/timeline for themselves.
And also, so it's at Friday evening, an interview? She took Marshall's car? Would Marshall not miss her when he got home? Like, she didn't know he would be working, quote, unquote, "late." Yeah, was Lily just planning to be, like, missing for the evening? Like,
Well, because he was working late, quote, unquote, "working," with Barney, so he might have just gotten back, and she could have.
but Marshall didn't know he'd be well, honestly, he's, like, always been working late. I guess we don't know that.
Yeah,
But
so maybe
Barney did say, like, "Call Lily, tell her you'll be, like, late on this with me," so maybe it doesn't seem like it's usual.
yeah,
Um,
maybe.
I don't know, nothing about this makes sense.
It's kind of distracting and annoying.
Alright, well, anyway, do you have anything to talk about, like, with the Lily of it all?
I do. Before I get to that, I wanna call out
Right.
how rude it is that Ted stood up his date. Yeah, well, the first time, like, that's fine, like, he called and said, "Can we reschedule?" But this poor woman, like, this guy reschedules on her, and then she clearly showed up at 9 o'clock or was about to show up, and then he just didn't. Like, I'm hoping he at least called her and said, "I'm having second thoughts about meeting you." Even that would be super annoying, but, like, I'm hoping he at least had the courtesy to do that.
I hope so, but yeah, I don't know. I mean, he probably did, but, like,
Mhm.
yeah, that was not I mean, I guess you wouldn't want to, like, go on a date with someone who's, like, just has, like, loving thoughts about another person at that moment, so that would not be a good date, but yeah, he definitely, owed it to her to explain and apologize, certainly,
Yeah.
especially after a initial stand-up.
Yeah, yeah. Alright, well, I just wanted to throw that out there, but I'm ready to talk about Lily now because I think I need to talk this out to figure out how I feel about it at this point.
Yeah, Lily, it's hard to actually, like, get into her head about what's going on here because, like, sure, like, yeah, they're kinda, like, rushing the wedding because of the property availability.
Mhm.
But, like, I don't know, why like, if you feel like it's rushing the date, like, you could push back the date of the wedding. Like, if Billy said, like, to Marshall, like, "I really don't wanna rush the wedding, I feel like, we should, like, change plans and do it when we initially planned." I think she easily could have done that, and it would have made things better immediately. But I guess they already sent the invites out at this point.
Yeah, and I
Um,
just what, like, Lily, it seems like, her and Marshall clearly, almost to the point they overshare, they tell each other everything, and I think, Lily probably felt like she couldn't talk to Marshall because in her perception, he wasn't sharing any of the same anxieties. So maybe she thought, like, he wouldn't understand about why they would have to push it off.
yeah, I mean, I guess the only if she wouldn't have been okay with even the original date, which is
Mhm.
maybe where this is leading, and just, like, trying to push it up has, like, made all these, concerns she has, like, bubble up. So, yeah, I mean, if that's the case, then that's probably the harder conversation to have, even
Mhm.
though she still should have it, because just, like, pretending the issue doesn't exist and, like, doing these self-destructive kind of things, like, isn't actually resolving the problem.
Yeah. I wonder how much I'm trying to figure out what Lily's telling herself about her anxieties because clearly they're there. She can't push those away, but then she seems like she's trying to, like at the end where she's like, "Oh, I just need to know if I could do it, and I actually don't want to take this fellowship." I don't know that that's true,
Yeah.
and maybe it's hard for her to admit to herself that there's a bigger problem.
She wanted to choose between that and the wedding,
Mm.
and, like, if this
Mm.
is, like, you just concerned, maybe she, like, at least implicitly knows that, like, she might choose that instead, or want to choose that instead.
Yeah. Yeah, well, what do you make of these last two episodes where Lily, it seems like she's kind of positing the experiences that she wanted to have before she met Marshall. And then being married to Marshall, it's like in her mind, or at least the way she's presenting it, they're not compatible with one another. It's like one or the other. Do you think there's any validity to what Lily's saying, or is this just an excuse? Or
Wait, what particularly do you mean?
well, like the way Lily talks about this, it's I wanted to live abroad, I wanted to be an artist, and it's like that or be with Marshall. And I don't know if that's quite true, or if that's, like, kind of what she's telling herself to, because it's, like, easier to latch onto that because she's having, like, actual concerns about being married. Not even necessarily to Marshall. Like, I actually think her and
Yeah.
Marshall love each other, but
Uh,
I do think
yeah.
there's any validity to what she's saying about, "Oh, if I marry Marshall, I can't pursue these dreams that I had."
Hmm. Yeah, I don't know. I guess thinking back to like the St. Cloud episode where she was really
Mm,
worried that she would have to like live in Minnesota, but Marshall like when that she like came clean about her concerns, like said, yeah, well, I don't want to like be like right with my parents or anything. Like we'll do our own thing.
mhm.
So yeah, Marshall there showed like he was like, yeah, definitely willing to like make things work for both of them to chart their own path. So I guess it's hard to know where exactly this concern is really coming from.
Do you think it's
Yeah,
hard to know what's going on in Lily's head because, like, as far as we knew, she was good, and maybe she was good. It seems like I can't figure out if this came out of the blue the last couple of episodes, or if this was actually building up on some level, because if it was, then maybe we would know better what was going on in Lily's head if we were, like, given that information earlier.
yeah. I mean, I guess so. If you think about like that St. Cloud episode where she is the pregnancy scare and she runs off on her own,
Mhm.
and doesn't talk to Marshall about it. Hmm. Yeah, maybe there's a bigger pattern here about like fear of change and I mean, yeah, I guess she definitely gets really in her own head about these things. And yeah, maybe it's like she doesn't actually talk to Marshall much about the bigger things. Cause like in the St. Cloud episode, like they hadn't talked about where they might live. Like it never came up.
Yeah.
So yeah, maybe they haven't really been sharing enough about their like, long-term hopes and dreams and things like that.
Yeah. Yeah, maybe so. Like, maybe it seems like on a surface level, they're really compatible with each other and they're on the same page about stuff. But yeah, maybe on some of those more, like on some of those bigger issues, maybe you're right. They actually aren't 100% comfortable communicating with each other about where they're at with respect to some of those things.
And maybe it's not quite as healthy a relationship as it should be.
Maybe. Yeah, and maybe, like, Lily is intuitive enough to be picking up on that. I think, like, it sounds like Marshall, like, oh, God love him, he's, like, oblivious to this right now.
Um,
I don't think Lily is wrong for feeling what she's feeling right now. I think that, like, every emotion is correct. It's just what you do with that. So if she's feeling that way, there's a reason for it. But I think rather than paying attention to it and starting by being honest with herself about where those feelings are coming from, I think she's busy telling herself it's not okay for me to be feeling this way because Marshall isn't feeling this way because I have the thing that everybody else thinks I should have, because XYZ.
Mm.
I think that's where some of the problems, I mean, we're not done with this, obviously. This is going to come to a head soon, before the end of the season. But I think that's where part of the issue is she's not acknowledging those feelings to herself, let alone to Marshall. And I think that's where a lot of the conflict's going to come out.
yeah, so I guess we don't believe Lily when she says that she's done and Marshall's enough.
No, and like, I wanna be clear too, I do trust Lily when she says this isn't necessarily about Marshall and it has to do more with her. I actually think that's probably spot on. And I
Mm.
really get her hesitation in sharing that with Marshall because that would be a tough thing to how do you even come at that conversation with your significant other? But the way she goes about all of this, as it's obviously we know is gonna blow up in her face and his. It's hard to
Yeah.
talk about this because we know what happens in, the end of the season and several seasons to come.
Yeah. Well, we will be coming back to this.
We sure will. Anything else you wanna say as far as the lily of it all, I think as you put it?
No. No, I think we covered it.
Yeah, and we're definitely gonna be able to talk about this a lot more next week. Oh, what about That's So Us?
So, yeah, I think, voicemails and I think you're touching on the highlights is definitely the 2 we should pick. Yeah, leaving voicemails is so aughts.
You don't do that anymore?
I can't remember the last time I really left a voicemail for anyone.
Really?
Was it email or text? I mean, I've gotten voicemails, but mostly from, like, scam callers, job recruiter types, or, like, city alerts.
Yeah, it is mostly scammers for me. Like, I think with older family members, like parents and aunts and uncles and stuff, I will receive and
Mhm.
leave voicemails for them occasionally.
Yeah, yeah.
Hmm.
Alright, so what did you rate the episode, Nikki?
I'm gonna give maybe the same rating as Best Prom Ever, 3 out of 5, cartons of milk.
I gave it 3 out of 5 tiger stripes. Well, yeah, tell me why you gave it the rating.
Well, I was gonna say the things I think this episode has going for it is it's nicely setting us up for the season finale. I wouldn't say this is an enjoyable episode that wow, I got really Minnesota there. I'm channeling Marshall. It's not an episode that I would go out of my way to rewatch. It
Yeah.
wasn't funny, but I think it does a decent job of getting us where we're gonna have to be next week.
Yeah, I agree. It was a reasonably good, like, bridge episode into the going to the finale.
Yeah.
Yeah, it was there's some good jokes in here. I think the Marshall Barney plot was a little bit more dumb, but it was actually, actually kind of amusing still. But the suddenness of the "I want Robin again" didn't really work for me. And while I get the sometimes you do have to, like, make mistakes so you don't regret taking a chance, sure, but, like, some mistakes are too big. Ted still could have met this woman and then, like, yeah, Robin will still be there if, like, she's not a good match. So, I again know story-wise why they did it this way, but it didn't feel that natural to me.
Yeah, I'm glad you said that actually because Ted, I've come to expect him to make impulsive, decisions out of nowhere. So that didn't really throw me so much that he was suddenly abruptly like, "Oh, I must have Robin instead of this woman who on paper is, perfect for me." Yeah, yeah, it was I didn't really get what the message was supposed to be about mistakes. That didn't really land for me. I was a little kind of confused what I was supposed to take away from that. And I actually like for a moment I was like I'm going to give Ted a little credit because I thought maybe potentially this was a moment of growth for him that like Robin like flat out in the van is telling him you know, the things I want are not the things you want. She's like, I don't want 2 kids. I do not meet these criteria on your checklist. And it's like in that moment, hope that he stopped idealizing her and took her as she was and was like, okay, like I don't want perfect, I want Robin. But even the way he frames it at the end with the whole like, oh, I gotta make a mistake kind of thing, I'm like, you know, there are some fundamental incompatibilities between these 2. So while I appreciate that, he's taking her, as she is, where she is at, I don't know that that was a good call on his part to pursue it again.
Yeah, I mean, so I think with the mistakes, it's like, it's not 100% certain it would be a mistake. Like,
Mhm.
there's, like, a chance that, like, either, after, like, a couple of years of being together, like, she would decide she does want to get married and have children. There's always a chance that, like, a couple of years being together, he would want to travel and
Mhm.
pull off marriage or, like, maybe they'd be so happy together, like, those initial compatibilities would end up not being a problem. But and I think that's kind of what it's going, like, it's not certain that it absolutely certain that it would not work out. Even
Mhm.
if it seems likely if you intellectualize it, it wouldn't work.
Mhm.
And I mean, I guess that did seem like they were playing Robin as kind of like wanting Ted, but not like still not forgiving him, and so they're kind of playing a little coy in this episode, I think. Or maybe coy is not the right word. Um, or they seem like they were beating around feelings of for each other.
Yeah, there's
Um,
some flirting.
a little bit, yeah. And Robin definitely seemed kind of jealous about his dates. but also at the same time, like, Ted going, like, full back into Robin, like, we're still only a couple weeks away from when he screwed it all up and cheated on someone.
Mhm.
So, yeah, it doesn't feel like, he's done it all enough healing on that to even consider wanting to go back to Robin. Like, for the writing, obviously, they need to get into the finale, but, like, realistically, it feels like it wasn't time yet.
Yeah, maybe they didn't give us enough time to breathe in between the whole incident, with, like, lying about Victoria and where we're at now. This feels like something that could have happened, like, a season later, but it's like maybe they're thinking the audience is just not gonna stick with it and have the patience to get to that point.
I mean, even, like, maybe, like, one more episode where he's, like, he just met, like, this really perfect person, but then also there's Robin, and so, like, maybe he's trying to decide between continuing to go out with her and, deciding to go pursue Robin again. Maybe
Mhm.
that would've felt a bit better. I don't know,
I could have used
I'm
at
not
least
too
one
sure.
more episode in between.
Yeah, we need, like, one more episode of 1 or 2 more episodes with Victoria in it, and then, like, one more episode between, like, showing the switch from
Mhm.
everyone else to Robin, I guess.
Mhm.
And maybe also to let the Lily thing, like, percolate a little bit before.
Exactly.
Alright.
Right.
Well, next week is the finale
Oh my
of the
gosh.
season.
That's
Um,
crazy.
yeah, we gone through all this, very quickly. I guess that's what happens when you do 2. So it's the season finale, is called Come On. Yeah, we'll just do, the finale, and then we'll have, like, extended discussion of it, and then, like, in a following, episode, we will do a season wrap-up.
Thanks for listening to Puzzles, a How I Met Your Mother Re-Rewatch.
Please subscribe to us on your favorite podcast app, and follow us at Puzzles Re-Rewatch on Blue Sky, Instagram, and TikTok. You can also send us your thoughts, questions, and feedback to puzzlesrerewatch@gmail.com.
Leave us a review, or if you're not into the socials like yours truly, tell a friend about our show.
See you next time.